Hello, we're the editors of The Grotesque and The Unnatural. I'm Markku Salmela and this is Jarkko Toikkanen with me. We decided to write The Grotesque and The Unnatural because we felt that while there had already been quite a few book-length studies on the grotesque, something had been overlooked or perhaps misunderstood in the research. Scholars have tended to establish the grotesque as either a structural category or an inherent quality of a specific aesthetic object. But we found that the concept can perhaps be grasped in a new way by introducing a specific relational emphasis. It seemed necessary to bring the grotesque into contrast and comparison with another difficult and elusive notion, nature and the unnatural.
After all, that which we experience as grotesque, be that an object or event, frequently appears as a challenge to nature's laws, or at least our understanding of them, in both the normative and the descriptive sense. Moreover, we realized early on that this challenge seems to subvert, surpass, or simply undo existing standards. And so the grotesque comes across as intimately involved with a negation of nature and the natural, that is, with the unnatural. It was clear to us that this relationship between a grotesque and nature was worth mapping out from the perspective of literary studies. And this consideration lays the theoretical premises for a book as a whole, and the individual chapters build on this idea in multiple ways.
So what do we hope our readers take away from our book? In addition to offering a fresh perspective and an analytical update on the grotesque as a concept, we hope to contribute to a number of existing research traditions about literary paradigms and individual authors. We would like to think that particularly our emphasis on the intricate relationship of the grotesque and the unnatural will provide the reader with new insights into texts and topics they may already be familiar with. With our novel approach, readers interested in literary theory, the history of literature, philosophy, and literary studies in general may find support and useful counterpoints to their own thinking about these matters. And doing that can well be productively related with other areas of study in contemporary culture and academic research. It would also be nice to think that our readings of specific literary texts from various eras set in a decidedly chronological pattern might re-evoke sources and debates and sentiments that have been forgotten over the course of time.
Also, on a very general note, as literary scholars, we are always sensitive to any representation or textual phenomenon that seems out of the ordinary or somehow subversive. And ultimately, I think this is because literature itself has similar tendencies. Often, and for a good reason, it is precisely the most peculiar, artificial, or unnatural features of a literary text that end up attracting the largest amount of attention from scholars and other readers. And because in our book several chapters touch on this idea of the strangeness of literature, at least briefly, our readers will, I would think, probably be encouraged to consider the extent to which the grotesque can become emblematic of the art within which it appears.
So what other research is still needed on the topic? The grotesque represents such an intensive concentration of signification that it may well be studied meaningfully in relation to any cultural development or context that evokes it, and the results are likely to be informative in terms of why such imagery seems in constant demand. In particular, the 20th century from high modernism to postmodernism and the present day, including the period's influence on the genesis of Kaiser's and Bachtin's theories on the grotesque, could gain from being studied from the viewpoint of negation and the unnatural.
And certainly, as our book also suggests, similar developments have been visible in philosophy and aesthetic theory, at least since the days of Kant and Burke. And it would be fascinating to trace their influence even more fully to this world that we inhabit today. And that, we think, is a task for the future. Further possibilities, again, from the perspective of the present day, could include, for example, explorations of how the grotesque relates to, say, technology or the technological sublime.